Hello, welcome to this bonus edition of Math Snack. Not only is this a rare January edition, but it's also presented in the form of video. Hope you find it to be both useful and informative. I'm going to explore a website with you called achievethecore.org, which is maintained by a group known as the Student Achievement Partners. The founders of Student Achievement Partners were three of the lead writers of the Common Core standards. They founded the group after the standards were completed to address the need for practical, evidence-based support for teachers and school leaders. On their website, they state that they are committed to sharing standards-aligned resources freely with educators by offering hundreds of classroom services. Take some time to explore the site on your own after I show you two specific areas of the website that you may find to be both informative and useful. The first area I want to show you contains sample video lessons. Truthfully, there are currently only 15 videos for the 13 grade levels, but you may find some interesting ideas in the videos. So I'll show you where you can find them. All right, begin by going to your web browser and typing in achievethecore.org. You can see that right here. Notice I did not type in www, just type achievethecore.org, all squished together. Then you will see three drop-down menus. Select Planning and Reflection. From that menu, select Instructional Practice Toolkit and Classroom Videos on the left-hand side. At the bottom, you will see a link for supplemental lesson videos. Click View Videos. Now, do you see this right here? This is the filter. I can filter this by grade level. I can also filter it by category. So for this, I'm going to select grade 5. Now notice there's just two results. There's one ELA result for annotation and integration, and there's one mathematics result for fractions as division. I can access the mathematics video by clicking right here where it says 3 files. You're going to click there because I want to see the 3 files. If you take a look at the top right, you'll see that there's a lesson video, teacher interview, a lesson plan, and a lesson analysis activity. I'm going to click the plus sign to open up the lesson video. And here I can see a video that is 29 minutes and 53 seconds long, related to the topic of fractions as division. If I click this arrow, then the video will play. There's also a teacher interview that's 7 minutes long for this video, where the teacher explains what we just saw in the video of her classroom. Notice that you can either view the file or you can download it. You can also just watch it from right here in the web browser by clicking on the play button. We're not going to explore this area any deeper today, but you now know how to come back and explore it on your own if you're interested in seeing more. Okay, let's take a look at the exciting resource now that I wanted you to come see. So the second area that I'm going to show you is my true focus for this special January edition of Math Snack. Before our winter break, I presented at our county's face-to-face special education conference, and many of the participants who attended my session said that the information I was sharing was very useful and felt like it would be beneficial to share on a more wide-scale basis. So this is me sharing the information more wide-scale. All right, so go back to the top and you'll see classroom resources right here. When I mouse over it, you'll see that there's a drop-down menu. Then you'll see Coherence Map. That's what I'm looking for, Coherence Map. Click that. Once I click that, there'll be a button here that says Get Started. Click it. Then it's going to give me a little bit more information, and it'll ask me to click a Get Started button again. Once you do that, you'll see the grade level for which there are coherence maps created. You're going to select your grade level. I'm going to go ahead and select grade 3 for this demonstration. Once I select grade 3, you'll see the 5 domains that are part of grade 3 mathematics will appear. You guys are getting ready to start module 6 in grade 3, and that is filled with number operations with fractions. So I think I'll select that domain for this demonstration, number and operations for fractions. Once I do that, you'll see that standards will pop up. One of the first standards you'll encounter is NFA1. So I'm going to go to NFA1 right here. This is the language of the standard exactly as it is in our instructional organizer. I'm going to click Map Standard. Watch what happens. Okay, first, before we can watch what happens, they're going to take us through a couple of informational slides. Let's take a look. On the first one, it's telling us that if we click on this magnifying glass, we'll be able to expand the standard car and explore the map. We'll do that in a little bit. These arrows that you'll see pointing, they indicate related standards. In cases where if a student cannot meet standard A, he probably isn't able to meet standard B, for example. But don't be confused. Students don't have to completely master the foundational standard in order to be introduced to the next standard. But this is a great way to help us see where we can begin to support students when they're struggling. Then you're going to notice as we explore these dashed lines. A dashed line means that it's a related standard. It's not foundational, it's related. You could present them side by side, or when it comes up in instruction, you may want to refer back to a related standard and connect those for your students so that we're not teaching standards in complete isolation. All right, so let's finish with these directions and take a look at the map that I'm so excited about. All right, here it is. So this was the standard I chose, 3NFA1. And you'll see there's all sorts of smaller cards next to it. So let me take you on a little tour of this. Over here to the left, you will find the standards that are considered to be foundational to the target standard we selected. So in this case, there are 2 standards that are foundational. Both of them are second grade standards. I see here 2G A3 and 2MD A2. Now those are foundational standards, a geometry standard in second grade and a measurement and data in second grade, to my third grade fraction standard. This is one of the things I love most about this coherence map. I'm working in fractions with my third graders. I may not understand where to look for a foundational skill since second grade doesn't contain a fraction domain. I might not have thought of looking in geometry or measurement and data as the foundation to that. So this is the part that I love most. If I click on the foundational standard, I'm going to click on this 2GA3. I get more information about that standard. So I can see that this particular one is about partitioning circles and rectangles into 2, 3, and 4 equal shares. And in second grade, they were using the words halves, thirds, half of, a third of, fourth. They were already beginning to use those words in a geometry context. I can get back to my target standard by looking for this little icon right here. See it over here on the right? Looks like a little map icon, and clicking on it, and it will take me back where I was. I can then go look at the second foundational, which was this measurement and data standard in second grade, and I can see that measuring an object was also foundational to understanding fractions. And again, I can get back to my target by finding the map icon and clicking on it. All right, so do you see the little magnifying glass here up in the right-hand corner? If I click on that little magnifying glass, I get a bird's eye view. Here are the two standards that we were looking at previously that were foundational, and the standards that are foundational to those standards would be contained to their left as well. So if I need even more support, I could look to the left and see what was the foundational standards for these foundational standards. When I look to the right, I see that there are a number of standards here. I notice that there's some fourth grade standards, some fifth grade standards, and then up here there's also some third grade standards that we can't see in this view. My target standard, 3 NFA 1, is foundational to these standards. When I hold the mouse over it, see how the lines get darker? If I follow those dark lines, it will show me which future standards, what I'm teaching today, 3 NFA 1, what is that foundational for students to understand next year and the year after? You'll also notice that there's these dashed lines above it and below it. Well, 3 MDA2 and 3 NFA2 are two standards that are closely related to my target standard of NFA 1. When I get to MDA2, I may want to refer back to this standard and help students see the connection between these two standards. 3 NFA2 is likely going to quickly follow right behind NFA 1, and when you teach NFA2, help students see the connection to what they just did with NFA 1. So I'm going to click here and get back to the broader view. And so now I have back a close-up view of what the map looks like. And if we look to the right now, we can see here are the two future ones, this 3GA2 and 3 NFA3. This standard, NFA 1, is going to be an important foundational skill when we come to 3GA2 and 3 NFA3. All right, so what do we do with all this information? Well, here's how I have used it. When a teacher calls me or emails me and tells me that they have a student who is struggling with a certain standard, so let's imagine that we have a fifth grader. So I'm going to go up here and click grade. Let's change it to fifth grade. And they tell me that the fifth grader is really struggling with comparing decimals to the thousandths place. Well, that's a base 10 standard. So let me click here on the base 10 domain. And I know that that is standard number 3. So let me scroll down there. And here it is. Read and write and compare decimals to the thousandths. So let me click on map standard and see what's going on here. You can see to the left, there are 3 standards that are foundational to students understanding how to compare decimals to the thousandths place. So when a teacher asks me, how do I help this student? I go back and I take a look at what these 3 foundational standards were. So let's do that. So the first is a base 10 standard from 4th grade. The student should have had it last year. Doesn't mean that they were present that day. Doesn't mean that they fully learned it. It doesn't mean that one time was enough for them. So we may need to do a little bit of what I like to call ramping up to it. I may need to give some additional support by reintroducing something from last year. So let me see what that is. So last year in 4th grade, my 5th grade student should have been exposed to how to read and write multi-digit whole numbers using base 10 numerals, number names, and expanded form. So they were comparing 2 multi-digit numbers based on the meanings of the digits in the place value. So I need to first find out, is the student struggling because we're now working with decimals, or do they struggle because it's a place value issue and they don't understand how to compare even whole numbers with place value? So this is a great reminder for me to go back and check and see, do students understand how to compare whole numbers before I get too deep into, do they know how to compare decimals to the thousandths? I'm going to go back here and click again on the map icon to get me back to my standard, which was MBT A3. And I want to explore this second one, NFC7. Again, it's from 4th grade. And I noticed in this standard, Students last year were asked to compare 2 decimals to the hundredths place. Pretty much it's the exact same thing I'm trying to do with the student, except for I'm going to the thousandths place in 5th grade. Last year they were supposed to do the same thing to the hundredths place, and they did it through reasoning about their size. So I can go back and take a look and see if students understand how to do this to the hundredths place as I'm trying to get them to be able to do this to the thousandths place. All right, let's go back and look at that last one. I noticed that the third foundational skill is a 5th grade skill. It was something that I hopefully have already introduced to my students. If not, I might want to take a pause and introduce or reintroduce this. So let's take a look at this 5 MBT A1. So one of the foundational skills for comparing decimal numbers to the thousandths place is recognizing that a multi-digit number, that a digit in one place represents 10 times as much as it represents in the place to its right, or 1/10 of what it represents in the place to its left. So I may want to go back and revisit this topic as I'm beginning to work with students on comparing decimals to the thousandths place. So having this information allows me to work with students by creating what I had mentioned before, a learning ramp. It's where I don't go back and teach and reteach all of the grade 4 material, but rather I target specific skills and I help move the student quickly to the target standard I'm trying to hit by creating a ramp of understanding between the foundational skills they should have and the target skill I'm trying to get them to. If I scroll down on this page of our target, I'm going to find some example tasks. So notice that there's some tasks here for the standard. So I see some example tasks. And you'll also find Smarter Balanced. That is another company that creates statewide assessments like our park. So if we were to click on the Smarter Balanced item, we would be taking a look at a public release from the company Smarter Balance for this question. So it's a question that I might want to make use of in some way. It might be a warm-up question. It could be included in my homework. It could become a great discussion in the classroom. One way I love to use these multiple choice questions is for me to go ahead and circle the correct answer for students and have them explain why the other 3 cannot possibly be correct. It makes for a great discussion. So visit Achieve the Core today, explore these coherence maps. I think you'll find them to be useful when you need to remediate instruction for your students, for just general planning purposes, when you're planning your lessons for your classes, and for understanding how your target standard actually plays a role in the larger scheme of things and in the grade levels to come for your students. As always, let me know how I can help you help your students become stronger, more confident users of mathematics. Have a fantastic day.